Hey, what's up, everyone? Gaming Pizza Boy here, back at the pizza party here on YouTube. Hope you're all having a wonderful beginning of the start of your 2023. Hope you all got your goals ready, your plans, everything like that, and you're looking forward to see what the year has in store just for you. Right now, I have something just in store for all of us at Dead by Daylight, as there's now a next developer update that was just announced for January of 2023, which is pretty exciting because I just read through it and there's some pretty cool stuff to talk about right now. So it's been a while since we've done a little update video, and I figure why not we go through it together. Before we begin, though, as always, if you do enjoy this video, hit the like button, comment down below and tell me your thoughts on this as we go through the update, and make sure you subscribe to help show some support to the pizza party. Also, you can go check out my multi-link down below if you want to keep in touch with everything going on for the pizza party as well, and especially when I go live on Twitch, of course. So keep an eye out for that as always. Now, let's not waste any time and let's get right to it. As we click on the developer update, we now see that it was posted just earlier today, and we can now read through everything and see what they got, which will be coming up very soon for the upcoming 6.5.0 update, if I last remember. I hope I'm correct, just to make sure. Moving on through this, let's see, we read through this and they say, Happy New Year. The team is back from holidays. We brought a new developer update with us. In this series of posts, we cover all the big upcoming changes coming to Dead by Daylight. We have many quality of life improvements up our sleeves. So without further ado, let's kick 2023 off with a bang. As we go through, we now can start reading each of them. And first, we're going to start off with talking about is a survivor activity HUD. It's no secret that playing with friends may improve your odds of survival. Communication can, at times, make the difference between life and death. Solo survivors need to work extra hard to keep often sacrificing perk slots for crucial information that could be easily shared between players in a call. Last year, we shared an early design for a system that would help bridge the gap between solo survivors and pre-made groups. The response to this idea was positive, so we've been ironing out the details and working on it behind the scenes since. We're happy to say that this system will be debuting in the 6.5.0 update. Each survivor will now display their current action and next to their portrait. These actions include, of course, repairing a generator, opening an exit gate, healing, mending, or recovering yourself or someone, cleansing and blessing a totem, searching a chest, or doing any killer-specific actions such as snapping out of it or waking up a survivor. This not only gives you a vital information to plan your next move, but also gives you some visibility on what your teammates are doing to build a camaraderie, if I pronounced that right, sorry, between you and your fellow survivors. These actions are only visible among survivors. Killers won't be told what you're doing at all times. And we actually get a visible look right here, as we see in the picture. You can see basically there's a picture right here that shows obviously them playing on the map of Eerie Crows. But if you look on the left, you can see that all the survivors now basically have these icons right next to their tally marks that represents when they be hooked. As you can see Vittorio's cleansing a totem as we see on screen, and we can see that he's also now indicating that as well. It looks like Adam is opening a chest, and it looks like Serena is working on a generator. That is a pretty cool aspect that I really do find pretty well indeed, and I think it's something that should definitely be something considered for quite a while, and now we're actually seeing this happening. I personally agree that this will be a nice cool feature, hopefully so, for the future whenever it comes to solo survivors. As you know, typically whenever you're playing solo, you don't really have any communication. There's no game chat, you can't text chat while playing the game as well. You're basically on your own most of the time, even if you're with teammates that might know what you're doing. But now with this gives you a better indication, hopefully, for you and others to know exactly what the hell they're doing. So if you're on your own and you need to prepare for something, you see what everyone's doing, and you're worried that maybe like someone's getting hooked and you need to know if you or anyone else is going to go for it, you can pay attention to the bottom left and just see if everyone's doing gens. And if you see everyone's doing gens, then you know just to go do it yourself. If you see someone get off one already as they were, you'd probably think, oh, they're probably going to get it as well. That's not all as well. They also mention beyond actions, we have added a new indicator to signify that a survivor is in a chase. Previously, it was only possible to tell the obsession was being chased due to the twitching icon. Going forward, any survivor now that is being chased will have just a small set of enemy claws surrounding their portrait. Meanwhile, the obsession will always have a larger set of enemy claws around their portrait, keeping the effect visually similar. Unlike your current activity, the killer also sees who they are chasing, making it possible to distinguish two similarly dressed survivors. Finally, we added a new help state to also show when a survivor is being carried by the killer. Previously, the carry survivor will just be shown in the dying state, but this could be confusing for new players who were looking for the aura of a dying teammate. This, to me, is actually a really wonderful change along with that or cool HUD idea to keep survivors in check right there. Because this is a nice way to tell not only for both survivors and killers. For survivors, now you know who is really getting chased because they'll have the small, little tiny enemy marks, which is similar to the typical obsession enemy marks, but just a smaller version of it, basically. Not the full-blown one that's around the circle of their profile. Oh, pick right there. Instead, it will just have, obviously, their small little ones around like the sides of them to let you know who's in a chase. And it's nice to know, that's also going to be doing this for killers as well, because now for killers, you won't have to worry about it for two reasons. One, the risk of accidentally tunneling another survivor, and then you can know if you're about to go after the same one you've already hooked before, and or get very confused in a certain situation whenever you're in a chase trying to hurry up and basically take someone out if you're worried about losing a chance to get a sacrifice, and they don't want to get confused when you have like multiple people wearing the same skin, since usually there are people that will dress the same skin and character and can get you mixed up to make you harder to use like your perks, or maybe even also try to get close to getting at least one sacrifice or so. So this literally kind of helps out a little bit of that in some way. I do like what they're going for as well, especially the new special help state they're including for carried survivors. My guess is going to be just similar to the dying state one, but instead it's going to be just showing them being carried. Maybe they'll include some kind of carry icon or whatever, who knows. But this is a really cool way to kind of help distinguish for newer players, just so they don't get confused looking for the aura of a dying teammate, of course, since usually you can see the aura of a dying teammate when they're in the dying state, but you can get confused as hell once they get picked up, of course. So this is really nice. They mention now also get in detail about why these actions are even a thing. The goal with this feature is to solely bridge the gap between solo survivors and pre-made groups. All this information can be easily conveyed between friends in a call, but not between solo survivors. Without the use of perks, therefore, this information will not make it a coordinated group any stronger than before. We specifically want to avoid anything that could give already coordinated groups an advantage, such as showing a survivor's exact location. Due to the preceding nature of Dead by Daylight's maps, callouts like these could be hazy at times, so pinpointing an exact location could give even pre-made groups an advantage. We hope you'll find this decision to be the fairest option for bridging the gap, and we will be closely monitoring the impact this change has on solo survivors, pre-made groups, and overall gameplay. We look forward to hearing from all you once you had a chance to try it out. So yeah, I do have to say, I really do like this change so far, adding for all these really cool stuff right here. I do really like the survivor activity, how they're coming through. I like the better way to help communicate for solo survivors with other randoms out when you're playing games with survivors, and also the nice cool addition of now finally having indicators when in chase with other survivors. I've been wanting to see this actually for quite a while, honestly, and I'm grateful that they're actually doing this, because it just makes it so confusing to me as a killer to hunt down people when I'm trying to target like a certain person, pretty much, that I want to go after, or trying to hurry up and sacrifice because they're already about finished with the game and they're almost close to escaping. Or literally also, I just don't want to tunnel the same person. While tunneling could be a typical thing that will happen in general any time, this could help benefit very easily so that we killers don't have to always just accidentally tunnel the same person, because we can all get confused when people play the same character or wear the same skin. So this kind of makes it a little easier, since usually the profile pics on the survivors don't really have their skins on there. It's just the default skin and profile pics. So this kind of just helps make it easier so that we know who's who, and we can just kind of go after that very easily. So this really just helps a lot, in my opinion. All right, now moving on next, we're going to go to is now the updated wiggle mechanics. Obviously, as you know, the wiggle mechanics we're talking about is obviously the wiggle system that usually you do whenever you're, of course, in the situation getting carried by the killer. They mentioned obviously about the details of the wiggle system since the beta tab release. Of course, it's an updated version of it, and this is what they explained. The updated wiggle system was the first feature to appear in the beta tab since last year. Since its introduction, we collected feedback from countless games and around the internet. Roughly 83% of players are currently opted into the wiggle beta, including myself. I've been using it personally lately, and I actually don't mind it pretty well. I actually prefer more than just simply pushing the left and right key buttons. Honestly, in my opinion, it just feels more comfortable to kind of deal with that instead of just mashing buttons all together, especially. And it just requires like timing pretty much. But this is where it's going to be changing a lot of it, especially. The time has come for the system to finally be officially integrated into the game, and as a result, the wiggle beta will then disappear from the betas tab during the 6.5.0 update, so you won't be seeing the beta tab of that any longer. there's a couple changes that will also be made before this goes live as well. And there's some quite changes they mentioned for the wiggle mechanics since the beta tab. And listen up. First, we are removing faster wiggle progression from great skill checks. Hitting all great skill checks could shave off a whole second. While this sounds small, it could be the difference between wiggling free and getting hooked. Rather than increasing wiggle speed, great skill checks will now instead increase the amount of killer sways while carrying you by 20%. Great skill check success zones also been increased in size since they are now less impactful. Good skill checks, on the other hand, still bump killer, but 50% and less than was previously normal. So basically what is basically they're saying now is that now they're basically now changing the idea of the faster wiggle progression you get from great skill checks. So basically during this beta one, every time you enter this phase while being carried, there's the good skill check line, and then there's like the great one in the middle, which is the white one. And every time you time in the good one, it will just do normal speed for the wiggle progression. But if you manage to time right and keep wiggling into the great skill check section, you will basically speed it up a little bit and more to kind of get yourself wiggle out. And there's been many moments where you can get out or have close shave calls whenever you're trying to get out of it before getting hooked. Now it seems like they're removing that idea, where now they're making it more involved of just simply trying to cause a lot more swaying to the killer. So like how typically usually whenever like boil over is a situation like that, well now it's now this situation now for 20% if you keep on landing the great skill checks. And it may increase the size of it because it's less impactful in that situation, which honestly I can kind of agree a little bit, because like the situation is that typically every time and all when you wiggle yourself out of the stuff, you're not most likely going to get out that easy. I mean, hell, I think if everyone's seen me on my streams lately, every time I've wiggled a lot, I've nearly had so many close calls of almost hitting, if not even at the last second, getting close to getting out of the wiggle, and then next thing you know, getting hooked. So there's some moments where I literally have had close moments, and it's not just because this wiggle mechanic in the beta is good or some of that or terrible. It's just mostly because it's just close calls. Although now in this situation right here, the killer sway now is now being a main situation for this, which I actually think is a not bad idea. I think the idea, the fact that now we're having just the involvement of swaying a bit could actually do something right there. Now, the only situation I can only mention that could make this a little bit more challenging is that I don't know how this is going to work if it combines something with boil over. If you try to use this, how broken that might be, possibly, since that also does kind of add a lot more swaying, wiggling to the killer whenever doing that. And then not only that, though, there's also, of course, Iron Grasp, which I don't know how much that would affect it too, if it will just be only a slightly bitter version of it, of course, because obviously that keeps you steady up pretty well. And not only that, though, who knows how this would deal out, especially when it comes to dealing with other players that might come after you at the same time. Because there could be a lot of people who might just keep on all grouping up together and keep distracting you or keep bumping into you or blocking you, all that stuff, while this is happening at the same time you wiggling, making it harder for you to keep up the pace and even keep them out of the way until you get to the hook. I don't know how this would be a feeling of it. First, I need to like kind of see for myself, obviously, by playing it. And we know this is going to be coming out probably during the PTB. So I'm going to just kind of lead this as my guess. Something pretty nice, but I don't know exactly if it's going to be anything like exciting. All you have to do is just wait and see when the PTB comes out for this update and give it a good try. I will definitely be giving out my feedback on this, and I hope to hear all your feedback on it as well. Personally, from visual experience right now, looking at this, I think that this could be a pretty good idea, hopefully. Just adding just sway to it rather than just simply getting out of the way a little faster. So hopefully, maybe this will be pretty good to kind of hold off the killer from hooking you so easily. And maybe hopefully it'll be a little more balanced in some ways. We'll have to wait and see. I'll be definitely testing out boil over and iron grasp, that stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. Secondly, they do mention, of course, is that they have added a new sound for non-attempts, i.e. basically not attempting to hit a skill check at all in the first place. That sound that hears vroom, vroom, whenever you obviously don't hit it skill check, and just keeps spinning around in circles, of course. Previously, this would be the missed skill check sound, which could be a little intense when played over and over if you decide not to wiggle. This sound now, this new sound now will be much more subtle. So they made a little more subtle of a sound for that, so you don't have to just keep on hearing that just sound when you miss skill check every single time. If you're just not going to do it, or if you're just end up missing for real, just doesn't bother you. The third and final one they mentioned is that they've cleaned up the new systems interaction along with Decisive Strike, DS, as we all know, the perk. Previously, wiggle skill checks would start immediately after DS skill check. This caught a lot of people off guard and can cause some confusion. There is now a short 0.5-second delay after the DS skill check before the wiggle skill check appears. You'll be credited a small amount of wiggle progression to make up for the added delay before these skill checks appear. So they're basically making it easier now for people with Decisive Strike now, so that you can at least a good chance to kind of be prepared when DS is about to activate and you can start landing the skill check. Because obviously, whenever you get picked up with DS, it's supposed to pop in a skill check like you do during your wiggle progression, and you have to time it right, and you'll be able to stun the killer and get out for yourself. However, though, there's moments where sometimes that it can be very tricky to kind of be ready for it and can catch survivors off guard. So hopefully this will make it a little better for a lot of people who use DS still. Also, hopefully so at least. All right, now moving on. Now next is another quick little changes that's going to happen, and it's to a specific killer. We got two actually in this one right here, but one in particular a lot of people have been clamoring for. I know I've been hearing a lot, and that is the Nerf. The Nerf is now getting some pretty big changes coming up. So let's see what they got for the Nerf right now. They state this. In the right hands, the Nerf can no doubt be the strongest killer in the game. Though she has a steep learning curve, not much can stand between a good Nerf and the survivor she's trying to kill. Not even walls. Which is funny because obviously we all know her power. She can just go facing through walls if she wants to. Although it's been a while since we made any major changes to her, the Nerf has steadily grown in power thanks to the introduction of new perks, making already strong playstyles even stronger. This in large part comes down to the fact that her attacks are considered basic attacks, meaning they could benefit from a wide variety of perks. As you know, there are definitely a couple perks out there that are basically basic attack perks that you can use, and if you use any basic attacks, you can use this, such as obviously using perks like, of course, Sloppy Butcher, of course, which you have to use whenever you just basically attack someone very much, or of course, obviously, you save the best for last. There's definitely a lot of situations with that with the basic attack. So now they're finally working on this situation, and they state that since the Nerf can be threatening enough on her own, we decided that it's time to make her blink attacks special attacks. This means they will no longer activate basic attack perks such as Starstruck, Hex, Noed, and so on. So finally, now her ability of the blink with her attacks whenever she goes through the phases now no longer does basic attacks. They will now do special attacks. Basically, now you have to do regular normal attacks first in order to activate stuff like Starstruck or Noed or something like that, like those exposed related attacks. I think this is nice that they finally added something like this, because I feel like that just felt a little bit too easy for her to use those perks along with her abilities, so this is quite nice. Next, we added a new sound cue when the Nerf has fully regenerated at all of her blink charges. This way, you'll know when you're ready to blink again without having to keep an eye on the corner of your screen. Another nice small little thing right there, just then you hear a little sound cue to let you know that your ability is ready, rather than just simply looking at the bottom left screen and know your ability is ready. I like this, so hopefully this will come to handy pretty much. I'll have to see this for myself. Beyond that, we took the time to revisit the Nerf's add-ons to add new effects and bring the strongest and weakest of the bunch closer in line with the rest. Notably, any add-on that increases the Nerf's maximum blink range has been replaced with a completely new effect. Here's a sneak peek at what's to come, and this is where they go over, of course, all the different, obviously, of course, different add-ons, and this is what they do right here. The first add-on that I mentioned during this change is going to be obviously Bad Man's Last Breath, which is one of the very rare add-ons, which typically what it would do is letting you, whenever you hit a survivor with a blink attack, it will grant you the undetectable status effect for 16 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 60 seconds. So now, instead, it will now give you 25 seconds of the undetectable status effect whenever hitting them with a blink attack, and it will just have a 45-second cooldown. So it definitely got quite a buff right there for sure for that compared to its original counterpart. Jennifer's Last Breath is also got infinite in this as well, and what this originally did was usually whenever pressing the activity ability button during the chain blink window, you can use it, which will immediately blink you back to the previous location. Now, instead, once all blinks have been exhausted, the Nerf may teleport back to her original position, and once she does return into her original position, all the blink charges will now be restored to her. So now, obviously, of course, you will be able to have all your blinks back instead of just getting them all wasted completely. And along the way, they also mentioned the full details for the change add-ons can be found in the patch notes once the update does go live, but you can also expect changes for the following. And these following include Catatonic Boy's Treasure, Dark Cincture, Heavy Painting, Ataxic Respiration, Fragile Wheeze, Campbell's Last Breath, Kavanaugh's Last Breath, Tom Bookmark, and Matchbox. Spasmodic Breath will also receive apparently a new audio and visual feedback to make it clear when the effects are active as well. So basically now, Spasmodic Breath add-on, which typically would basically give you, of course, obviously it would disable the Spencer's Last Breath, obviously, for this, and also increase the movement speed of the nurse, of course, to replace the ability for that. It will now give you a special audio cue and visual cue to kind of make it easier to know when it's clear and its effects are active, of course. This is really nice to see that a lot of changes are coming from the nurse, and hopefully this will please a lot of the fans, obviously. I have not gone around to play the nurse myself really much right now, but I need to do that for myself. But hopefully with everything else that was happening previously with people playing the nurse or playing against the nurse, maybe this will be something nice and people can find a way to enjoy this, hopefully. So we'll just have to wait and see. That's not the only killer, however, though, that got the additional changes during this update. There's also been the mention that the Knight will also be included in this list as well. The Knight and his guards have been patrolling the realm for a little over a month now, and we've been combing through your feedback all the while. One recurring piece of feedback we received is that about how the Knight's power is being used mostly for loops rather than long over distances. So lately, as I'll explain right here, even from my experience with the Knight, playing as him for a little bit and even going against him for sometimes a bit, is that usually I could find that the power is mostly good when it comes to loops rather than obviously over long distances, since usually most of the time though you're going to either use it to help damage or suppress other generators or break walls or pallets for yourself, or loop it around other places to catch survivors off guard and hopefully get them caught by the next Knight that appears for the other guards. Obviously, typically this could be very used a lot in that situation, but in over long distances, it's kind of very challenging because usually you have a certain amount of distance you can make a patrol path go, and how long the guard will last until they eventually disappear, and even if they even catch a survivor within the location. While this is a totally valid way to use this power, we also like to make it more appealing to use your power in different ways. We made a few changes aiming to make longer paths more powerful. First, the orb survivors see when the killer is creating a path will now shrink with distance, disappearing completely when the path is longer than 10 meters. This will make it more difficult for survivors to avoid a guard before they become active, though the killer will still need to predict where the survivor will go. So basically, every time the Knight goes into his patrol mode to start building the patrol for his guards, typically it will summon this green-like orb, and it will follow the path as you go in that position for the limited time you have left. Now it will basically shrink every single time as a little bit slowly and going as you basically go the distance, and it will obviously make it a little bit kind of challenging, and it will disappear completely when the path is longer than 10 meters, basically giving it kind of like a surprise for survivors. So survivors won't be able to know so easily and can't just leave the area. That means it could give them a false sense of basically of relief until they realize it's too late, and boom, it scares them off like hell right there out of the blue, and could get them caught by the other guards before they have a difficult easy chance to escape before it's too late, since usually they have extra time when they do see or hear the glowing green patrol path. Even though so, you still, as the killer, still need to obviously predict where the survivors are and where they go. So you better hope for the best you line yourself pretty well, and hopefully for the best they get caught by the guard and you've got them in the right position to trick them. Second, after creating a path longer than 2 meters, not only for that also reason of making the disappearing thing completely gone, the green little orb. Also, if you complete creating a path longer than 10 meters, apparently the Knight will be given the haste status effect for a few seconds. The longer the path, the longer the movement speed will last. This aims to help the killer catch up after using his power. This I actually really like, and I'm glad they're doing this. After all, whenever you use this as power, it usually gives the survivor from a distance a good amount of time to react and hopefully run away before even the killer can even have a chance to catch up and do anything about it. Now, this killer, or the Knight, has a better chance now to kind of catch up a little more easily. So the longer path it goes, the longer that haste status effect will last. So you'll be able to hopefully have a little more time, catch up with the survivor, and hopefully catch up with them and at least get a hit off them, or catch up during the chase if a guard ends up going after them. The next one to mention as well about the power of the Knight is that now the guards will actually move to the position they spot a survivor and begin chasing faster depending on the length of the patrol path. Like the haste status effect only paths longer than 10 meters will benefit from this as well. So basically, again, not only the long effect to get the haste stats effect will be given to use tonight, but if the guard or in the patrol path ends up catching a survivor within their radius, they will, and they spot the survivor, and when they begin the chase, they will actually chase them much more faster, depending on the length of the patrol path, because it's just like the haste stats effect that's given to the knight. So they're given a little more speed to catch up with survivors. This actually adds a little more of a challenge now, even more probably, hopefully, for against survivors whenever you're trying to go against them and try to catch them off guard and hopefully attack them. So maybe this will make things a little more challenging to make survivors have to be very wary of getting chases with the other guards. I don't know how fast this will be, but who knows? We'll have to see how fast it goes, especially with someone like the assassin, which I remember I think is the quickest one of the bunch, and it's meant for chases. So I wonder how fast he'll go through this as well. Finally, last but not least, beyond promoting longer paths, we increased the instant generate regression from guards to 5% compared to the typical default 2.5%. Guards will not activate generate damage perks, however, so use them wisely. Obviously, typically, when I remember testing and experimenting with the different guards when they damage gens, of course, I was using damaging gen perks to see if it would affect, and obviously it does not, and it still doesn't work here, so don't try to really waste too many generators if you have any damage generating perks. Take advantage of that by using that yourself and not your guard using that. As for the damage one, slightly nice at least to kind of add a little something more dangerous in some way when doing generate regression now. So now it's 5% instead of 2.5%, and a regression every time you instantly damage generator with the promoting guards, obviously, of course. So we'll see how that plays out with the regression, of course. This might even encourage you to be careful not to keep on going back and forth to go repair the generator. Otherwise, you'll just keep progressing it further and further and further. Lastly, we have to admire the creative ways some of you have used the Knight's power, as they state. Rather than locking down an area or aggressively chasing survivors, some of you have discovered that you can start drawing path and not move to higher terror radius, particularly near a hooked survivor. While the efficiency of doing this is debatable, it does not exactly suit his playstyle, so we added a 10-second limit to his patrol path creation. This gives enough time to not affect the typical path, but it will put a hard limit on how long you can stay still in high terror radius. I do remember something like this where people were using and taking advantage of the Knight's power, where you basically become kind of undetectable in some way, as you will, when you're doing this. And basically, whenever you summon a guard, it kind of just makes you kind of hidden with the terror radius a lot. So literally, obviously, if you draw a path and not move, you will actually hide your terror radius as a whole. And this can be used especially when camping by hooked survivors. So now there's now a limit to this so that you can't really just do that anymore. I actually do like this. I do not like the fact that when this killer came out and his power was being barely used again for camping by hooks, it was just really tedious and disgusting as hell, honestly, to me, because I don't know why people just have to keep on camping all the time when it's not the end game or something like that, or they're losing pretty much. It just seems kind of stupid to me that they would use this in such an easy way to kind of get kills pretty easily. So hopefully with this will benefit in a way that will keep the killer from camping a lot and will make them easy to spot once they know they're in the area. So you can't just stick around there for too long and not expect to not be noticed. Moving on now, next is actually a map getting worked into this, and it's none other than the infamous Area of Crows. Yep, Area of Crows is also getting quite of a change itself. Last year, the Forsaken Bee Boneyard appeared in the Entity's Realm alongside the portrait of Murder Chapter with, of course, the artist and Jonah. You've given a lot of feedback on this surreal landscape, and we prepared some gameplay adjustments for the Area of Crows, which will launch in this upcoming patch. Many players reported the map felt survivor-sided, and this is something we can back up looking at our data. To remedy this, the map will be changing shapes rather than a long rectangle. The map will be roughly square, allowing kills to patrol generators more easily. This change in shape also reduces the overall size of the map slightly. Before moving on, I'd have to say that I'm glad they're taking care of it, because I can tell you for sure from my experience, I can feel that the Area Crows just feels survivor side a lot due to how very big of a rectangular shaped map it is. It makes it easier for survivors to kind of get around and be spread out, while the killer has to kind of look a little bit more through this. And not only that, there's also like the middle of the map as well, which is kind of annoying because obviously there's a lot of ways you can do with that, and it makes it just very easy for people to kind of get around and just kind of stop the killer, especially also when they go up there and use something like Boil Over or those perks right there to kind of benefit them very well. So you can see the kind of ridiculous thing that kind of plays into style like that as well. So good luck with that pretty much. Obviously, if you play this normally. But now it seems like there's changes like this, as they say. Now they're making it a little more square shaped to make it more easy for kills to kind of patrol generate more easily and reduce the overall size of the map slightly. Not only that, additionally, maze tiles, which are stronger tiles made up of tall walls, have now been moved away from the main building and shack, making it harder to even combine them into stronger loops. This is nice now, so hopefully now the killer can have a little more easy time when looping survivors within the middle of the map, the main building, or even the shack. Last but certainly not least, several new tiles have been added to the map as well. Multiple existing tiles have added new foliage, added in strategic places, to allow trapping killers to better hide their traps. Keep an eye out as you explore. So now, of course, obviously, now they added some better to kind of make it easier for special killers that do traps, like the trapper, to hide it now more easily in some sneaky ways, including using the foliage, which is pretty nice. I do like what they're going for, so I can't wait to see hopefully some trappers I might run into try to trick me and I walk right in the foliage and just get myself just completely taken out. So let's see what happens right there. But nice to see that Eerie Crows is getting a nice little change. Moving on next now, and this is probably one of my most exciting things right now I'm actually excited about, and that is the in-game challenge tracker. We've all been there. You're not quite sure if you're finished your challenge or not. You spend the rest of the match questioning, was that 5 totems or 4? Doubt starts to creep in, but you lie to yourself and say, no, it was 5. Then the match ends and you find yourself just shy of the goal. Never again. We are adding a challenge tracker during the match, and this which will appear at set intervals as you make progress on an active challenge. You can choose to toggle between 2 settings that will indicate progression on the challenge and as well as completion. No more guessing. If you prefer to keep your screens clear, the widget can be switched off in the options menu. This I'm happy about. I have been getting kind of annoyed lately whenever I get a challenge and I'm trying to keep track of it, and I'm so confused if I even got it done or not, and I have to usually wait until the end game to find out. Now I can be determining it for sure, and I can feel so relieved once I see it happen on screen. So now you can see it and keep it on if you want to or not. If you don't want it to be in your way, you can just turn it off. But if you want to see it, you can turn it on, and it will help you keep track and let you know when you're getting close to something done, like evolving totems or opening chests or completing general with allies or trying to rescue someone off the hook or like trying to get certain kills, knock people down. Obviously, kill survivors, etc., etc. This is nice to see. I'm very happy that they're doing this. So thank God now we're getting something like this now to kind of help better keep track of our challenges. Moving on next now is game flow improvements they mentioned here. Speaking of challenges, if you ever queued up for a match before realizing that you didn't have a challenge selected, you'll know that you'll face with 2 choices. Either keep queuing and play the next match without a challenge, or back out and select one. Starting in the 6.5.0 update, this is a thing of the past. You can now browse the archives and even the store while searching for a match. The search for a match indicator will stay in the bottom right corner and let you know, obviously, of the screen and as you're browsing. You'll also be able to spend your blood points in the blood web as you wait as well. New for our killer plays as well, you'll also be able to customize your non-selected killers while you wait for a match to start. Note, the killer you will enter the match will be the killer you start your search with. As always, returning to the main menu will automatically cancel your search or exit your group as it always did. Whenever you forget something or you love just clicking around while you wait, we hope you'll enjoy having more freedom while searching. I'm kind of glad that they're actually doing this. I'm actually very relieved that they're actually doing something like this, because basically every time you start a game, you couldn't go back and do this unless you back out quickly of the queue. And I want to queue up while I'm kind of getting things ready, especially while getting to the match. So this will be nice to kind of get things done if I'm still trying to spend blood points in the web, or just trying to go through my archives and select my challenges, or just go through the store to see what's available if I want to buy something later on down the line, like I just want to window shop or whatever. This is nice as well. I do feel grateful they do this. Of course, obviously note that whatever kill you selected when entering the match will be the kill you switch with, so you can't just go switching from it very easily while this is happening. So once you start switching to that one killer and you choose it, that's the killer you're going to be. If you need to switch to someone else, you better back out right now while you can. So be ready for that, of course. But either way, this is really nice. I like what they're doing with these game flow improvements. Hopefully you guys do too. Next up, also mentioning is now they mentioned something about the merciless killer rating. So obviously, if you don't know, typically whenever you finish a match, you would get a special rating that will show like a message for how much you've done when playing the killer. Here's the explanation right here. We have a small update to merciless killer ratings. These ratings currently tied to the grade system, where a double pip earns you a merciless killer result and the corresponding Adept Killer achievement and trophy. So basically, every time you do like a pip or something like that during the game, it will kind of determine your ranking, how good you're doing or bad based on the grade system, obviously. And typically, obviously, if you get like a merciless kill result when you double pip, or even the corresponding Adept Killer achievement, obviously, it will work with the system and you will get that, obviously, title. Unfortunately, this means that as your grade increases, it becomes harder to earn these achievements, obviously. Since the emblem system has transitioned to a monthly ladder, it no longer makes as much sense for a match results to be based on them. So now to clear things up, the result you get after a match will now be tied to directly by kills. So now the whole idea of these messages appearing will now, these ratings will just appear now from kills, not the grade system, or obviously if you do really good with pip or something like that. So now you get if you do 0 kills, you don't get anything. You'll get the Into the Hungers. From 1 to 2 kills, it'll give you Brutal Killer. From 3 kills, it'll give you a Ruthless Killer. And if you get all 4 survivors killed, you'll get the Merciless Killer rating. With this change, the requirement for a Merciless Killer rating is much clearer and remains the same regardless of your grade. This will also make the Killer Adept achievement a similar level of difficulty to their survivor counterparts. And I do like this, honestly, because I do believe that like sometimes getting those Adept achievements is quite a little bit easy, because you usually just as long as you really do good within the rating kill rate, you're mostly going to get that same aim situation with the Adept achievement. But now you have to really play very well and hopefully get all the kills if you want to get this Adept achievement. So yeah, it's a little more challenge. I look forward to try to play more new killers down the line that will have the Dare Adept achievements and try to see if I can get it myself fully. So this will be really fun to see what happens. With that, next, moving on, is now about Iridescent Shard prices. Now, obviously, as we know, originally, obviously, like at least I think about like a year or so right now or so, they did a special where now they're making it a little bit now available for all the other different non-licensed outfits to be available now via Iridescent Shards now, besides just Orc Cells, so that you can just grind through it and just buy them if you want to. Obviously, they stated a few months back, we announced that all non-licensed outfits will be receiving an option to purchase with Iridescent Shards roughly a month after they first appeared at the store. By extension, existing outfits will also receive Iridescent Shard options as well, but this is being done in batches of few characters at a time. So they didn't do it to every character, not every licensed, non-licensed killer and survivor. They did it like a few, and so far they added them for, of course, the outfits of Trapper, Wraith, Hillbilly, Nurse, Huntress, Doctor, Hag, Dwight, Claudette, Meg, Jake, Nia, and David. Now they could reveal now that the characters next will be given the treatment will be the Clown, the Spirit, Ace Visconti, and Fang Min. You can expect the Iridescent Shard prices to appear around the time and the update releases on platforms, not the PTB. So now for all you nice, cool skin collectors out there who want to get yourself hands on your favorite characters of the Clown, the Spirit, Ace, or Fang, now is going to be your chance, because now they'll be available for shards when this update drops. So this is nice that they're getting this, and hopefully we'll see the rest of them be given added very soon to our non-licensed. So we'll be looking forward to it. I do need to get me some skins very soon for some characters, so better grind for those Iridescent Shards. And finally, last but not least, the last thing to discuss in this is actually an update on the cheating situation in DBD. As you know, DBD's been infamously dealing with so much cheaters as of late throughout the years right now, and there's been very terrible things, especially for our content creators and streamers, very much. But now it seems like things are about to be updated, as we know from the last previous like updates or so. They did announce obviously some big important things that were working, which has so far helped nullify some situations with it, and they are working actively to do it. And this is the detail they actually revealed about cheating right now. Now that 2022 is behind us, we wanted to leave you with a chart showing the number of cheaters banned each year since Dead by Daylight was released. And they showed this big graph right here that shows literally how many cheaters have been experiencing dealt with throughout the years of Dead by Daylight from 2016, which is when the game I think launched, and 2022 up to now. And as you can see, it has very much increased a lot from banning a lot of cheaters. And so far from last year, there's been over 64,601 cheaters at least, and probably counting, from them being banned, which is really nice to see. I'm glad to see that they're dealing with this very much. The team is still hard at work finding and patching new vulnerabilities, and we hope to share more information with you soon. This is fantastic to hear right now. I'm grateful to hear so far that the cheating situation has been calmed down. There has been even some cheaters at all barely on my games when I'm streaming, of course, DBD. So it's really wonderful to see that being toned down. I don't know how it is for a lot of our people, especially some of our big content creation streamers, But either way, it's nice to see that some things are kind of being toned down a lot right now. And hopefully it's the same for everyone else as well, including our content creation streamers, our Fog Whisperers. So this is fantastic to hear. This is very fantastic. I'm very grateful to see what is going on with the cheating situation as well. And they finish up saying, with that, we reached the end of the first developer update of the year. Everything we share in the post will be available in the public test build starting tomorrow and are planned to be released on all platforms later this month. Be sure to let us know what you think once you had a chance to try them out. Until next time, the Dead by Daylight team. So obviously today, they release this, and tomorrow we will see the PTB and it will be showing off everything. So I will be definitely experimenting with it myself and kind of give my thoughts on it, obviously. So you can hear about that very sooner or later indeed. And with that, we have come to the very end of everything we have to talk about with this update. The first update, obviously, of the year for Dead by Daylight. What do you guys think about it so far? For me, I definitely say a lot of the stuff is pretty good. Probably my most biggest pointers I do like is, of course, the Survivor Activity HUD, the cool update stuff that we statistically looked at for cheating. I do like what's going on for the wiggle mechanic, and I especially love the changes, obviously, of course, to the in-game challenge tracker and even also some of the gameplay the game flow improvements. And I do say I am happy at least for the changes that's going on for, of course, the Knight, the Nurse, and even Eerie Crows. But definitely everything else so far has been a very wonderful change so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to see what they will be throwing to us very soon as the update comes out. But I want to hear from you guys now. What do you guys think of the 6.5.0 update so far? Let me know in your thoughts in the comment section below, and I like to kind of get a discussion going on if you guys have anything to talk about within it. Of course, I really definitely see that hopefully this will be a pretty good smooth update so far, but we'll have to wait and see what everything else goes for, and we'll be giving our feedback. Of course, I expect that you and I and everyone will be giving our feedback to Behavior and let them know what we think so far. With that being said, I think that's going to be doing it for another wonderful update video. Of course, I'm really excited to see where things go for DBD for the year, especially for content very soon down the line, and for what future things can help improve the game. As always, if you guys enjoyed the channel and you want to see more content for DBD and other games such as Overwatch 2 and etc., again, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and you can keep track with me with everything going on for the Pizza Party in the multi-link down in the description below. Especially come check me out live on twitch.tv/GamingPizzaBoy. You never know when I'll go live, of course, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays if you want to come hang out and have some fun at the Pizza Party. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night, day, wherever you are. Keep on partying. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later, my friends. Peace.